The Pokemon Legends games have easily become some of the most innovative and creative and risk-taking entries into any of the Pokemon games we have ever seen, with many of them experimenting with new battle systems, new characters, new ways to play, new Pokemon, and new things like we have never seen before. So needless to say, I think that the Pokemon Legends series is fairly successful. But the only Legends games that we've seen so far have been for Generation 4 and for Generation 6. Obviously, with there being 9 generations in total, there's a lot of Pokemon games to go over. But what if I were to tell you that I'm such a big fan of the Pokemon Legends series that that's not enough for me? What if I told you that I would like to see a Pokemon Legends game of every generation, every single one? I'm talking 1 through 9. I want to see one happen for every single generation because, girl, I am a fan of this series and I would love to see how exactly they would go about doing one for each region. But what would they be like? Each Legends game has to center around a legendary or mythical Pokemon, has to have some new interesting elements or battle systems introduced to it, something to just switch up the format because that's what we've grown used to for the Legends series so far. And in today's video, I'm gonna present some ideas and do just that. What is up, everybody? My name is Dominic and I am your friendly neighborhood gamer with a Y. And if you are a fan of the Pokemon Legends series just as much as I am, then girl, you found your right place. This video is for you. Stick around for a while, grab a snack, a coffee, sit on down, and girl, we're gonna be here a while because I got some ideas and things to talk about for these Legends entries. Some are a little bit more thought out than others, as there's more to work with certain generations than there are with others, but hey, that's just natural. What I decided to do is I decided to pick what legendary or mythical I think this game will center around, and then some ideas for what maybe a plot would look like, and then what exactly do I think a battle gimmick or idea that they could do for this game would be. But just because this is my video does not mean that anything is set in stone. If you yourself have any ideas about these Legends games for any of the generations, let me know down in the comment section below which of these you would like to see the most and what ideas you would have for it. And if you have anything that I don't mention, let me know, because maybe, just maybe, I could put in a good word with my uncle who works at Nintendo and we can make these games actually happen. I'm totally kidding. I have no family that works at Nintendo. But without any further ado, divas, let's go ahead and dive right on into these Legends. Starting off, of course, with Generation 1, we have a generation that has been talked about to death, girl. We have had so many games centered around Generation 1, but of course, if they were to do a Legends game for Gen 1, there's only so many Pokemon that it could maybe center around, and I feel like it's pretty obvious who I would want the choice to be. In the original games, we do a lot of focus on Mewtwo, and Mewtwo's storyline is pretty clear at this point. We know what to expect, we know what it's been like, so I think we should focus on a different legendary Pokemon. One that might have something to do with Mewtwo's creation. What I would like to see for Generation 1 is Pokemon Legends Mew. I think that this game could focus on the finding of Mew a long time ago and the original expedition where we were to discover this mythical Pokemon to get the DNA to make Mewtwo before Mewtwo even existed. Mew is such an amazing Pokemon that I feel like has been around for so long, a lot of people love it, and I would just love to see more focus on Mew. I think this is absolutely a game that would take place in the past. As we know, in the modern day Kanto games is when we're seeing the experiment that caused Mewtwo's creation, so it would be a long time before that where we're still making all this research. Maybe we could be a part of the expedition team that was going to find Mew, and maybe we defected after realizing that there was some evil shenanigans going on. Cause you know, we're the main protagonist and we're not gonna be a part of that evil nonsense. No ma'am. Now, since this is based on Generation 1, it was kind of hard to think of a gimmick or a concept for a battle system of what exactly might be going on here to switch up the format, but this is a Legends game, we gotta try. I started thinking about ways that I could maybe implement Mew, or something that Mew does into this that would maybe make it original. And then I thought about, what if we had used Mew's transformation skills for something? We could either use Mew's DNA or Mew itself to be able to transform our character or transform our Pokemon in order to do and accomplish different tasks and things throughout the Kanto region. Imagine Pokemon Mystery Dungeon if you could actually transform back and forth from becoming a human to a Pokemon and so forth. I think that if we were going to revisit the Kanto region, something that we've seen so many times, this would be a really fun way to explore as a Pokemon and as a human, and especially with Mew being the centerpiece of all of it, I think it would be a really interesting game to play through. We could do an evil group of scientists as the antagonists, or we could do an early developed team of Team Rocket before they like really assembled into it. I think there's so many different things that you could do, but it's not super clear, again, because this is Gen 1. But let me know if you'd have any other ideas about that, but I definitely know that Mew would have to be the centerpiece of all of this. And where would you find Mew, you may ask? Underneath the truck, of course. I wouldn't have it any other way. If there's gonna be a game centered around Mew, then girl, you gotta find it under the truck. Like, like the old meme says. I genuinely thought that as a kid too, I'm not even gonna lie. I also thought at one point that if I leveled my Charmander high enough that I could join Team Rocket after the Nugget Bridge. Did y'all ever see that rumor? That rumor got me good as a kid. Moving right on along to Generation 2, my personal generation that I really wanted to see get a Legends title. I want Gen 2 to get something so freaking bad it is not even funny. Before Legends ZA had been announced, this was actually the region that I thought deserved a Legends game the most, just because I think there's so much to work with. And who would I want it to be centered around, you might ask? For Generation 2, I personally would like to see Pokemon Legends Celebi. Now, Celebi is a Pokemon that, like Mew, is a cute, adorable little mythical Pokemon, but with Celebi, I feel like there is a lot more to work with for the reason of time travel. Now, we know that Celebi is a part of all these different time shenanigans, time and time again, we have seen that Celebi is just flying across all these different time periods and doing all this different stuff, and I would expect no different for this Legends game. I think the main premise and gimmick of this game would be either working with Celebi or trying to find Celebi using its time travel powers to go through a bunch of different eras and time periods of the Johto region, with one of those time periods being the time that the burned tower occurred. That's right, we could actually go back in time and see the burned tower become the burned tower. We'd get to see the reincarnation of the Pokemon from Ho-Oh. We get to see the creation of Suicune, Raikou, and Entei. It would be amazing to see those in real time and get to be there. With that being said, I think that the battle gimmick in this game could also be time related. Maybe a going forward a turn, adding another turn, going back and rewinding a turn, something like that. Like, I'm sure there's some intricate details you could go in and make something work. It might be a little bit complicated, as time shenanigans always is. But I think this game, very similarly to Legends Arceus, would be set in a feudal Japan type era way back in time, but who's to say with all this time travel stuff that we couldn't go into the future as well and see what future Johto looks like. Maybe this would be a fun and interesting way to bring about some more Paradox Pokemon as well. You never know. You never know. Get a little Paradox Ho-Oh and Lugia up in here. Bet you weren't thinking you'd see that in a Gen 2 game, but I mean, it's entirely possible. We're talking about time. I think that this is definitely one of the games that's at the top of my list if I were to ask for another Pokemon Legends entry, but I guess we'll see, and time will tell what the next one is. Try to fit as many time jokes in there as I could. Next up, we have Generation 3, and for the Hoenn region, I have two Pokemon that I couldn't decide between what I thought worked a little bit more, but I think I did end up deciding on one. I really did at one point consider using Rayquaza, but because Rayquaza has already become a Pokemon with its own entry with Pokemon Emerald, I decided to not use Rayquaza, even as good as an entry that would be. I mean, Rayquaza just has so much to work with, especially with all of the old battles with Kyogre and Groudon in the past. That would have been really cool to explore, but who's to say that we still can't do that? What I personally would love to see out of a Generation 3 Legends game would be one of two things. It would either be Pokemon Legends Jirachi or Pokemon Legends Deoxys. I do lean more towards Jirachi because Deoxys did get an entire arc in the Delta episode where we know what's going on with Deoxys. It is this virus that comes down from space that Rayquaza has to then battle, and I don't know if we could maybe center a whole game around that. I'm sure there's a way you could do it, but I do think that there might be more to work with Jirachi. The reason that I think that a Legends Jirachi game would have a little more to go on would be the premise of wish making. I can already see it now. The antagonistic group, whoever they may be, is trying to get Jirachi because they want all these wishes for themselves for their evil purposes and reasons. I can absolutely see that happening, and I'm surprised that hasn't been a storyline already. We could travel around the Hoenn region on the Latis just like we did in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. We could even go up into space and do some space shenanigans. I mean, there is a lot of space references in the Hoenn region. We have the entire space station over in Moss Deep, and maybe that's where Deoxys could play into this too. I can already see the ending of this game being very similar to, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear anything about Legends ZA, click off and come back. In the end of Pokemon Legends ZA, for completing the ZA Royale and making it to A rank, we do get a final wish granted, and I could see something like that maybe working in this context better, in that there's something going on in the Hoenn region where they're gifting a wish from Jirachi, or something is going on where someone's trying to find Jirachi to get a wish, and we have to get there first. And obviously, being again the main protagonist, we would end up getting that wish in the end. I mean, Diva, come on, that wish is mine. I'm not too sure in terms of a battle concept or a battle gimmick. I think this is the generation I'm the most unsure of what I would want it to look like. So if you have any ideas down in the comment section below, definitely let me know. Maybe something to do with double battles, since this is the gen where it was introduced. But I don't know, if you have any ideas for what a cool gimmick or concept for a Legends Jirachi game would be, definitely let me know. Next up, we have Gen Generation 5, another one of my favorite generations, and one that I do think would really work out for a Legends game as well. I mean, this concept has been talked about. There is no surprise in any way, shape, or form. Everybody knows what this game would be about. We would be in the past finding that original dragon, and it would have to be Pokemon Legends Kyurem. Even though Kyurem is one of the main elements and components of Black and White 2, so it would be kind of the thing of what I was mentioning with Rayquaza, of it kind of already has a game, but I genuinely don't think any of the other legendary or mythical Pokemon from Gen 5 would have that much to work with in terms of a Legends storyline. The one that I thought of the most would be Genesect, just because there is the story of how Genesect was an old Pokemon taken from the past and modified by Team Plasma to become what it is now, but I don't know, again, if that's a full, like, story length of a game to work with. Kyurem is absolutely something we could work with. This original dragon sounded like a beast, and I want to see what it looked like. I absolutely can see something like a civil war situation going on in the Unova region, where there are people fighting between truth and ideals, and maybe forcing the original dragon to split. But we did see themes in the original games with the White Forest and the Black City of maybe there could be futuristic elements introduced in this game as well, maybe some more time shenanigans. I think that one of the best things that they could do for a gimmick and a concept in this game would be more DNA splicing, introducing more Pokemon that might be able to fuse or defuse or just create new Pokemon entirely. Very Digimon-esque. I think that could be the really fun gimmick of this game. Pokemon Fusion is something that people are very interested in seeing. I mean, there's an entire Pokemon ROM game made called Pokemon Infinite Fusion. The girlies are interested in Pokemon Fusion. The divas want to see it. And I do too. So I think if you're looking to drum up hype for this game, that is easily something that could drum it up like so fast. Is you just tell me that Pokemon Fusion exists, and I'm there. I'm there immediately. I don't care what the game is. I think that there is so much potential with something like this, and especially with it maybe taking place in the past when the Unova region is, we see a very developed region. So I'd love to know what it looked like before it was developed. I would also like to see an N ancestor maybe. That would be cool. I would like to see it. So this is another Legends game that is very up there on my list of things that I personally would like to see if I had to choose a generation. Skipping right on along to Generation 7 with the Pokemon Sun and Moon game in the Alola region. I have talked at length. I have already made an entire video based on what I think this Legends game would look like in Pokemon Legends Necrozma. So I won't dive into too much detail. I did make an entire video talking about it, and if you would like to see it, it's right over here. Definitely go click on it once you're done watching this one, because girl, it is a good one. I really enjoyed making that video, and there's so much that you could do with a Pokemon Legends Necrozma. I mean, just having the entirety of something like Ultra Space exists, and all these different places that we can travel to through the Ultra wormholes with Lunala and Solgaleo, and having all these Ultra Beasts and Ultra worlds that we can go to, and I would just love to see like going to these different worlds and maybe experiencing an adventure in one of them, and seeing all these different like other types of Ultra Beast Pokemon that are normal in their home worlds and are not normal in our known Pokemon world, being normal, like going to their world and seeing what they're like and experiencing all the different cultures and all the things going on in these other worlds. Or we could also stick it out in the Alola region and have more Ultra Beast invasion going on. Maybe this takes place in a distant future in the Alola region where the Ultra Beasts have run rampant and taken over the region, so it looks incredibly different. Or just looks like what Pokopia looks like now with this apocalyptic whatever's going on. I think out of any of the generations that I have been talking about in today's video, I think this is the one that has the most to work with, the most potential, the most stuff going on. This would be incredible to see. I am advocating for this 100%. If the other games were near the top of the list, this game is the top of the list. A Pokemon Legends Necrozma just needs to happen. I'm sorry. Pokemon, if you're listening, girl, I will be in the development room. Like, I will come over and I will hang out and we will be there and we'll write this game together. For this next generation, I'm going to be discussing some stuff that was included in a little bit of a leak that was going on. So if you're not at all interested in leaks, you don't want to hear anything about the spoilers or what people are talking about online, you might want to skip over this Gen 8 section. So just go ahead and skip right on below to Generation 9 if you are not at all interested in this. But if you don't mind hearing it, then girl, stick around because we're going to talk about it. It is currently rumored that Generation 8 Sword and Shield, the Galar region, is going to be the location of our official next Legends game. Apparently all this stuff was leaked for it. There was visuals, there was gameplay, there was everything marketing for this game was essentially leaked online, saying that this is their next game plan. There's even a lot of references to the Galar region inside Pokemon Legends ZA, so whether that was meant to or not, it really does seem like everything is pointing to the UK. So of course, my friends, we might be making a quick return to the Galar region, and honestly, I would not be completely opposed. I think that there are a lot of things that we can work with here. You know, there's the old story of the Darkest Day with the ancient kings and the story of Eternatus. How did this Darkest Day happen? We now know from the plot and story of Legends ZA that AZ might have been there, that this ultimate weapon might have had something to do with the Darkest Day. Like, that would have been the craziest collaboration I have ever seen in my life. You want to talk about a YouTube collab? I would be interested to see it. I couldn't wait to see how that would turn out. Actually, wait, I can wait to see how that turns out. That's the destruction of an entire region. Yeah, I don't want to see that. I think my biggest issue, unfortunately, with a Legends game set in Generation 8 would be the new Pokemon that they would introduce, because a lot of these new forms, like the Megas and the Hisuian forms, for this game would be Gigantamax Pokemon. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a hater of the Dynamax phenomenon, okay? It's definitely not the worst gimmick they've ever done. That being said, I do not love Gigantamax forms. They are not my favorite thing that Pokemon has ever done. So, if we were gonna make this Legends game, I would need the Gigantamax forms to not only be more prominent, like be more around that I can use, because the first time I played Sword and Shield, I've openly talked about this, I felt like I just didn't know where to get them, and I never got to use them. I never got to use one of the main gimmicks of the game. I only got to use Dynamax. I never really got to use Gigantamax. So I would want it very, very featured, and based on how ZA was with the Mega Evolutions, I think that we could maybe see some of that. But also, I just want them to be a little bit better in terms of, I want more for them. Like, if these Gigantamax forms are going to be entirely different designs and have new moves that they can use, like, I don't know, I want it to feel better for them. Like, I feel like some of the Pokemon that got Gigantamax forms weren't really featured a ton. And the reason that any Pokemon should get a new form is to feel more love and feel more attention, and giving these Pokemon a spotlight and giving them a new form. And I feel like even with a new form, they didn't really get that. So that's one of my biggest gripes in Pokemon Legends Gen 8. I would love to see a more featured on the Gigantamax aspect of it, but I think that there's still a lot to work with. And I think in terms of the plot and the lore, especially if we were centering around Eternatus, I think there is so much to do, and I think honestly it would be one of the best storylines across any of these Legends games that we would receive. And finally, we have Generation 9, our most recent generation, and this would be a long time away. I feel like no one is, you know, banging down the door of wanting a Generation 9 Paldea Legends game. Like, I feel like no one is currently wanting for this, and this is actually the region that I have the least amount of ideas about. So I'm definitely going to be asking for y'all's help in the comments. If you have any ideas for a Generation 9 Legends game, definitely let me know. But here's what I got so far. I have a couple different ideas that I was spitballing here, so I'm just going to mention all of them, and then y'all let me know down below which one you think would work best. Or if you want to add on to any of them, definitely feel free to. The couple ideas that I have an idea for Pokemon Legends Terapagos, where maybe we could go back in time and see the events that happened way back when that caused all these Terapagos to maybe go extinct, and we have just the one that is under Area 0. We could see the beginning of the Terastal phenomenon. We could see all of these Paradox Pokemon coming about. Maybe we could even go back in time and see the building of this time machine going on and the original trip into Area 0. I think that there would be a lot to touch on and look at there. There's also the idea of sticking in the region of Kitakami for in the Pokemon DLC, back when the original story happened between Pecharunt, the Loyal 3, and Ogerpon, maybe taking place in that region, expanding on it a little bit more, because there's gotta be more going on in Kitakami than just the little area we get in the DLC. I mean, we did just have a Legends game that centered in one city, and we just expanded that one city into a whole ecosystem, essentially. So why not Kitakami? I think Ogerpon is beloved enough to where, like, people would love to work alongside it and have it be the main of this game, and I think that Pecharunt and the Loyal 3, there's enough story and lore there to work on, and we heard about this old legend, so again, like I've said with some other Legends games, it'd be cool to be there, front and center with the popcorn ready for all these Pokemon world-changing events to happen. My final idea for a Pokemon Gen 9 Legends game would be centered around the Treasures of Ruin. We don't know much about the Treasures of Ruin other than their Pokedex entries and their lore that we hear throughout the game, that they were gifts from a faraway region that we don't know where, and these things were cursed items, essentially, that there were these cursed beings inside these gifts and treasures, and they had to be sealed away inside these locked behind chains chambers to keep them from getting out and destroying and wreaking havoc on the entire Paldea region. Now, if that's not a plot for a Legends game, then girl, I don't know what is. I can already see it now of these things going buck wild, running throughout the region in like an older version of Paldea, and we need to go throughout the land and seal them away, and who knows, maybe there's a secret fifth one or something else going on that they like work for. I don't know. I think this is the idea that excites me the most. Like, this is the one I'd want to see the most, but I'm also just a big fan of the Treasures of Ruin to begin with, so I would love to see something that focuses on them. How did we get them in those giant things and sealed them away? How did we do that? Did we just get a giant like stick or a broom and just like shoo them in? Like, how did we do it? I want to know. And if it takes an entire Legends game for me to find out, then so be it. But there you have it. There is all of my ideas if every single Pokemon generation had its very own Legends game. Y'all already know. If you have any ideas, let me know down in the comment section below. Which ideas did you like? Do you want to add on to any of my ideas? And which one of these would you want to see the most? Like, let's just give an example. If they were to announce a Legends game tomorrow, which one would you be the most excited for? Legends Arceus and Legends ZA have very quickly and easily shot up the rankings of Pokemon games for me. I love them. They're so fun to play, creative. They just switch up the system so much, and I am such a big fan. So I already know that the next entry into the Legends series, no matter what generation, no matter what region, no matter when, no matter how, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna enjoy it, just because the Legends series has provided so much for me as a Pokemon fan by switching things up and keeping things fresh and exciting. Gives me something to look forward to. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned into the channel and see other ones just like it. I do a lot of Pokemon ranting. In fact, it's one of the things I do the most here on the channel. So if you like this one, definitely stick around for the others, girl. We'd love to have you. If you like spilling the tea on all things Pokemon and video games, then come on over here, girl. You can sit with us. You're always welcome here. Bye!